Welcome to the Pink Sphere podcast. This is your 30 minutes of pink, your weekly space to pause, breathe, and hear something that might just shift the way you move through the day. Each episode, we sit with one of our coaches to have a real, non perfection needed conversation about what women are actually dealing with. And today, we're talking about motherhood, but the messy, loud, and emotional kind. The kind where you love your kids, but also feel like you're losing yourself. Tracy is with us today, and this one's for every mom who's trying to keep it together while everything feels like it's falling apart. Hi, Tracy. I'm so glad you're here with us today.
Hey Nadin, how are you?
Thank you. I'm just so excited for this episode because I have a lot to ask you. And I'm just
Absolutely.
going to jump in and start with my first question. What's really going on when a child is stuck in a constant tantrum loop?
Okay, so it depends on the age of the child.
Yeah.
So brain development's really interesting with kids. It's one of my favorite topics. So when our children are having tantrums, we quite often, as parents, feel like they are trying to manipulate us or trying to make us do the thing that they want. And they're having a tantrum because they want us to change how we're behaving. So I don't want to put my shoes on to go to school, or I don't want to get dressed. And they have a complete meltdown. And you, as the parent, feel like, oh my God, right, okay, I need to change
Hmm.
what I'm doing. I need to not send them to school. I need to not, I need to make a big change. The thing with kids is that they're not trying to manipulate you, they are just expressing how they feel. So that tantrum, that meltdown, is an expression of the big feeling that is coming up inside them. So we as adults are conditioned not to show people when we're feeling angry or upset. Breathe through it. Like, it's fine. I'll just deal with it. Kids don't do that. Kids, they show you when they're upset, when they're cross, when they're frustrated, when they're angry. It comes out, and it comes out through their body. So they they shout, they cry, they they lie on the floor and they bang their arms on the floor and they're like, I don't want to do this. Our job as their parent is to see them, to understand, to empathize, to connect, but not to change the boundary of what we need to be done.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I have a thing that I always do, I talk to parents about, which is, okay, so your child is having a big emotion about whatever it is, um, the shoes or the getting dressed or whatever it is that day, or going to bed. Um, so you say, instead of, this is the other thing, is that we often get triggered by that big emotion. So we then feel it in our body. So your child has a big emotion, they start to cry or scream or shout. We start to feel unsafe within our own body because we weren't allowed to show our emotions when we were that small. So we were told, no, be quiet. That's not acceptable. You're not lovable if you show me that emotion. Go away from me, go to your room. You're going to get a smack, whatever it is, that happened within your childhood, the way your parents, like, and lots of the parents that I work with were parented in a very authoritarian way. So they were told, no, not acceptable, go away, or I'm going to punish you for showing me that big emotion. So the big emotion comes up in the child. We immediately go, oh, okay, that emotion, I'm feeling that emotion now. That emotion wasn't safe for me. It wasn't safe for me to show my parent that. So therefore, I don't want my child to show me, because
Yeah.
I felt unlovable in that moment. I felt like I wasn't accepted in that moment. And so we then feel all of those emotions that we had as kids, they come up in our body. And we go,
Wow.
oh, right, okay, I've got to stop this. I need to shut this down. I need to stop it because I don't feel safe. So the first thing to do is to acknowledge, notice the emotion that's coming up for you. So, oh, right, okay, my tummy's starting to, like, even just talking about it, I'm like, oh, I can feel that in my shoulders. My shoulders have come up. My tummy's starting to knot. I'm feeling that pressure in my chest of, well, this isn't safe for me. So it's like, right, okay, I can feel that. The first thing I need to do is recognize it, feel it. Right, okay, it's there. I can feel it in my body. I am safe in this moment. I'm okay. So I'm then reparenting my inner child. I'm telling myself, I'm all right. I'm safe. I'm okay in this moment. I'm going to take a big breath. I'm going to drop my shoulders. I might need more than that. I might need to turn away. Might need to take a second. I might need to say to my child, okay, I'm feeling really, this is making me feel really upset. I'm just going to do something to help myself. And that might be, and this is different for everyone. So depending
Yes.
on what your nervous system needs, and the work I do, we do a lot of work on what works for you, what's your natural thing that works for you. And I can give you 101 tips on different things that might work. So some people, water is great. So you might go and run your wrists under the tap because that cools your blood. And so it cools your body because as we come up into that nervous system response, our body gets hotter. So I go and run splash water on my face. That the mammalian dive reflex, which is the kind of putting your face under the water, is a really good way of resetting your nervous system. So splashing water on your face or running water over your hands or, really nice. Some people, breathing is really good. Some people, that doesn't work for at all. My daughter hates it when I say to her, just breathe. She's like, that just makes it feel worse. So some people, big breath into the belly, lovely, long, slow exhale out, really helps. Some people need to go outside, look at something
Yeah.
green, take some fresh air, put their feet into the ground. Some people need to move their body, like shake it. Like, right, okay, if you're one of these people who goes into fight or flight straight away, particularly flight, all my adrenaline's gone into my big muscles. Right, I need to move those big muscles. I need to shake my arms. I need to, give myself a good shake.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm recognizing that I'm feeling upset, stressed, triggered by the reaction my child is having. I recognize it. I do something to support myself in that moment. I then, once I've managed to bring myself down a little bit, so I'm not then escalating the issue by matching their energy, by, right, they're shouting, I'm going to shout back. Because all that happens then is that it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and just then everybody's shouting and everybody's upset. So it's like, right, okay, what can I do to support myself? Then I'm going to empathize with them. So I'm going to say, okay, I get it. You don't want to put your shoes on. That's hard today. You want to continue playing with your Lego. I get it. It's hard when we have to do things we don't want to do. Can I help you? And
Yeah,
even when
that's
your
the question.
child is able to put their own shoes on and you know they're able and they can do it, like when it's all calm and they want to go to the park and they are and they're into it, they'll be like, yeah, put my shoes on, no problem. When we're stressed, we regress. So when we're stressed, we drop backwards. So we drop back in our ability to do things. So when we're stressed, we regress back into our inner child. So that stress back into the inner child. Whew, okay, big emotion. When they're stressed, they regress back into their previous developmental stage. So they might not feel capable of doing the shoes in that moment. So it's like, I get it. I hear you. It's okay to feel frustrated and upset. And you might then need to let them express that to you, shout, let that emotion come through them rather than pushing it down. Because when we tell our kids, don't show me, they push the emotion away, and then an hour later, something else happens, and then the emotion comes up even bigger because they've because it's been pushed away. And so then it's just stuck in you and it's stuck inside you. So let it come out, let them cry, let them have that. Okay, yeah, it's all right. Have a big cry. I know it's hard. I know you don't want to do this choose. I know the Lego's really tempting, but we have to go out. Okay, yeah, let it out, have a big cry. You're all right. I'm here. I've got you. And once they've started to calm themselves, and you might have, this is another thing that you can do when they're not upset, is teaching them techniques, recognizing those feelings. So later on, much later, what was the feeling you were asking them? What was that feeling like? What did you feel like in that moment? Oh, my body felt really tight and I felt really annoyed and these are things that you can do to help yourself. So it might be that they need to rock. They need to be held, like squeezing children can be really effective, like that being,
Yeah.
what, but those things are the things that you need to do when they're not upset. You need to come up with those plans. And when I go through my main program, we go through all sorts of different things that your kids can do to support themselves. And they gradually will learn those and they'll say to you, oh, I need to shake my body, or I need to run around, or I need to hit the pillow, or I need to shout, or I need to, and they'll start to recognize. I mean, I had a lovely moment with my daughter where she said to me, I see you, Mum, you need to go and do this. You need to go and do your breathing because I can see you're becoming, and they start to almost support you back
Yeah.
once you've done that work. So you let them, you might then have a technique that was helpful for them. It might be, like there are all sorts of things. There are like things like turning upside down, which is really good for the vestibular system, and it helps to support that. And so some kids will I need to go and lie on the sofa and put my feet in the air and have a good, and they're often things that they do automatically. So they're the things like if you see your child they're trying to support their own nervous system, they're doing things that automatically help them. My youngest daughter, she needs quiet and dark, and she'll go and put a blanket over her head. And I used to, before I'd done all this work, go and take the blanket off and be like, no, we need to,
Yeah.
But actually what she was doing in that moment was supporting herself. And so now
Creating a
I'm
safe
like,
space.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, right, okay. Do you need a blanket? Do you need something to wrap yourself in while you deal with this big feeling? She'll be like, yeah, I need my blanket. And I'll be like, right, I'll go and get your blanket. We'll put your blanket around you. We'll give you a big hug. And then she can let that emotion come through. And then once the emotions come through, it's like, right, okay, we do need to now put the shoes on. I'm going to help you today because I can see that you need my support. What I quite often get at this moment is like, how much time will all of that take? I'm like, it will take time, but it will also take time to have the big argument and for the big
Yeah.
meltdown and for
You
the
need
big,
to choose.
you need to choose which way. And then gradually as they grow, like once you get to about 7, kids start to be able to regulate themselves, but only when they're in a good space. So even like between 7 and 12, if they're in a good space, they can go and regulate themselves. They'll be like, oh, I can do this thing and that'll help me to feel better. But when they're feeling really dysregulated and really upset, then they regress back and they find it hard and they need your support. So it's a
Yeah.
teaching, and it's just that kind of, so it's this, yeah. And then afterwards, way afterwards, like later that evening, like after they've been to school and come back, and you can say, this morning when we were doing the shoes, let's talk about that. And let's talk about how that felt in your body. Let's talk about what we can do to support you when you feel like that. So when they're feeling better, you can then give them those techniques to help them,
Mm-hmm.
but never in the moment. Never try and teach a new
Yeah.
technique in the moment, because their brains they're not there. They do,
Working. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that was quite a long-winded
Well.
way of, but yeah.
Wow. Well, Tracy, you answered, I believe, 5 or 6 of my questions, and now I'm speechless, and I don't know what to ask next. But I really liked listening it because I have 2 kids. One of them is almost 5, and the other is 2, and we have those tantrums a lot, and most of them start happening because one of them sees something from the other, and they keep repeating each other, and it's almost like an endless loop we have at home. So,
Yeah.
well, I like I
Yeah,
said, I forgot my questions, but the
the
one thing I,
sibling thing is really interesting.
yeah,
So the
yeah, it
sibling
is.
thing is that whole where one kind of feeds off the energy of the other. And so
Yeah,
especially the 2-year-old. So the 2-year-old, so 2 is such an interesting age. So there's a huge brain development stage between the ages of 1 and 4. I mean, if you imagine a 1-year-old and you imagine a 4-year-old, and the difference between the way they are, their brain changes so much in that time. And it's like the neurons within the brain, the synapses start to, they, what's the word I'm looking for? They like prune your brain is like pruning the synapses that you're not using, and they go through this stage where they really need you, and but they also want their independence. So there's this whole kind of push pull thing. I need you, but I don't want you. I need you, but I don't want you. I need you, but I don't want you. No, I want to do it myself, but I can't do it myself. And then that frustration. And so, and they, and that all that time with the sibling as well, they're watching the sibling, and they're going, well, how are they dealing with this? How are they dealing with this? And so if you can support your elder child in modeling for them and showing them ways to support themselves, then the younger one will also start to pick up those things.
yeah, because it's
Um,
always mimicking and
yeah,
copying the
yeah,
elder one,
yeah. They have
always.
amazing mirror neurons at that age.
Yeah.
So, which is how we learn. Really, 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 really useful, because it's how we learn how to do stuff. And so they
Mm-hmm.
see uh, what other people are doing, and they go, oh, I'll do that because that seems to be working for them. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you can model for you, so you go, right, okay, I'm going to start with myself. When I'm feeling dysregulated and I'm feeling upset, what am I doing to support myself? And am I showing that to my children? So, what do you do when you feel that tension coming into your body? So, when you feel, imagine in this moment. So, your is it your eldest daughter, son?
Son.
Son. So, your eldest son is getting upset about something,
Mm-hmm.
and you can feel yourself coming into that oppositional
Yeah.
place. You can feel it in your body. What
Yes.
do
Yes.
you do? What do you do then when you feel that? What do you do? Do you get cross with him back?
No, no, no. I mostly tell him to take a moment
Yeah.
because I need a moment because
Okay. So
because
what do you
it's
do
hard
in,
to understand each other at that moment where
yeah.
we're feeling
So
both. Yeah.
when you
Sorry.
say you need a moment, What do you do
Mm-hmm.
in that moment?
I think I give myself a break. I go to the kitchen and I take a deep breath, and then I go back to him. If for some reason I got mad or I yelled at him, because it happens. I know it
Of course,
happens.
it happens to everybody.
I
We're
I
all
just tell
human.
him
We
that
all
I
have.
need a moment. Yeah.
Okay, so you go to the
And then I
kitchen and you take.
yeah, I take a breath
Okay, so
and
what if you
yeah.
stayed in the room with him and you said to him, "Oh, I'm starting to feel fizzy in my body. I'm starting to feel mad. I'm starting to feel."
Mhm.
Know that for me, if I take a really big breath into my belly and I blow that breath out
Yeah.
and I do that for maybe a minute, my body now feels better. It feels calmer. And
We sometimes do that.
and he can
We
see
do
you
that.
doing that. Then you are giving him, you're modeling, you're giving him those techniques. You're showing him
Mm.
rather than taking yourself away and doing it separately. And sometimes we need to leave because we otherwise we'll lose it. So if you show that to your child, so if you do the big breaths in front of him and you go, right, okay, I'm going to put my hands on my belly and I'm going to breathe right down into my belly. I'm going to make my belly really big and then I'm going to do a really long blow. And when I do it with kids, I say,
Mhm.
we're going to
Mhm.
pretend that we're blowing out candles on a birthday cake. And
Yeah.
we're going to blow out all the candles on my birthday cake because that's going to be loads more than yours. And we're going to blow all the candles out and then you are giving him the
Yeah.
techniques that he needs to do that. And then he'll come, like my daughter did with me, Mum, you need to do your breathing. Yeah. I can see that you're getting upset. You need to do your breathing. And they start to reflect that
Yeah.
back to you. And then the
Yeah.
little one will also see that. And so then we're getting those mirror neurons and we're getting that
Yeah.
copying because our kids do what we do, they don't do
Mhm.
what we say.
Yeah.
So when we show them,
Wow.
they do what we do rather than do what we say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Well, I
yeah.
don't always run away, by the way.
No, no,
Yeah.
no, no, I'm sure.
But well, when there are these moments when you think you can't just handle it, right? You
Yeah,
can't just handle it. You
yeah,
need a moment because if you don't take that moment, you'll start screaming and you just want to stop that in yourself. But perhaps, yes, instead of going to another room, you can just stay with him because perhaps going to another room is showing him to run away
yeah,
from that feeling,
yeah,
and perhaps that's what I'm doing.
yeah.
And yeah, I'll do that with him from
But,
now on. I'll
but
do
it's
that.
also it's like doing that when you're feeling good and you're like, "Actually, I
Mm-hmm.
can deal with this. I can deal with you
Yeah.
doing this today." It's like, "Right, I'm gonna do that in this moment," rather than
Mm-hmm.
trying to do it when you actually need that moment. When you actually go, "Right, okay, actually, I am feeling really in my body and I'm feeling really overwhelmed." Taking yourself away in that moment, might
Yeah.
be better. But
Yeah,
when
I
you're
understand.
going, "Oh, I'm kind of in flow here, and yeah, he's having a bit of a melt, but I feel okay." I'm now going to practice showing him
Mm-hmm.
what we can do.
Yeah.
Like there are things that I do when I've had a big if I've come in from work, say, and it's been quite hard and quite stressful, I'll come into the house and in front of my kids, I'll be like, right, I'm gonna do, I'm gonna shake my body. And I literally walk in the door and I'm just like, right, okay, I'm just gonna shake everything, and I'm gonna shake it all out, and I'm gonna shake my body, and I'm gonna, oh, and I'm literally shaking the tension
Yeah.
out of my body, and they go, "Oh, God, you're nuts." But I'm showing them in that moment that that's normal. And
Yeah.
like when they come in from school and they've had all that tension all day of having to stick to the rules,
Follow the
do
rules.
the
Yeah.
thing, and do as you're told, and all those things, and deal with all the different children and all the different energies and all the different emotions, and they come in and they're feeling, like, oh, it's all been a bit much. If you can then show them that you feel like that sometimes, And these are the things that you do. And then talk to them about what are the things that they do, right? Do you need to go and run around the garden 5 times? Does that make you feel
Mhm.
better? Do you need a snack? Do you need a drink? Do you need, so that they can start to recognize those
Coping
cues.
mechanisms, perhaps.
Yeah, the mechanisms, the cues within themselves that, all right, actually, I know that if I do this, then that's going to make me feel better in that moment,
Yeah.
rather than just allowing it to build up and build up and build up.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are role models and they mimic us. And but the thing is, it doesn't stop with the moms. Yeah. The moms tend to be, I don't know if it's wrong to say, but tend to be more understanding. We tend to make them feel more understood and try to help them in their ways of coping with their emotions. But what if in a relationship, mom is always the person who understands the kids, but the dad, or this could be the other way around, there is the other partner is not as open to understanding, or perhaps has anger issues that he or she cannot control. On one way, on one side, you're trying to build that tiny person's emotions to be stronger, and on the other side, the other partner's coming up and just wrecking it all because it's showing all the wrong things
Yeah.
that you
Absolutely.
were trying to protect
Yeah.
her or him from.
Yeah.
What happens then?
So
How do you yeah,
having
manage
that
that?
conversation with your partner and saying to your partner, you what are you modeling for our child? So when you are shouting at them, like quite often we have the mum is the empathic one who goes, oh no,
Hmm.
we need to support them, we need to help them, and then dad comes in and just goes, do as you're told.
Yeah.
Or yeah,
Yeah, it happens.
and that's very sort of generic, and it doesn't happen in every household, but
Hmm.
this is, and as you say, it could be the other way around. When you So when they are not in that triggered state, when they're not in that state of upset because the child has upset them or something's happened
Hmm.
or whatever, when they're in a nice calm state, over a glass of wine or whatever in the evening, having a conversation about what are our values, what is it that we want for our children, what are the things that are really important to us as a couple. And I do work with couples a lot because quite often we have children with people and we never talk about what it what is it that we want to teach our kids? What
Yeah,
are our values? What is it that's really important to you to teach our children? And
absolutely. Yeah.
what's what's the best way of doing that, so that we're not just coming from our generational pattern? Because quite often when we come into parenting, we come in with our generational pattern, with our pattern from our parents, and our partner comes in with their pattern from their parents, and those two things might not align, but we've never had a
Hmm.
conversation around that. We've never gone,
Yeah.
all right, okay, what are the things that you want to bring to the table because you think these are important for our kids? What are the things I want to bring? What are our values? And how best can we teach our children those values? And what are the things that we're just bringing because this is how it was done to me or for me or with, in my family when I grew up? And then saying, right, okay, so we have a value around um, trust or respect or whatever it is.
Hmm.
Okay, so we've both got that value. We both think that's really important. Okay, how can we both model to our children together that? How can we teach them that together so that you're both coming from the same page? We have to work on ourselves. And so unfortunately, it's quite often the mum that will come and go, right, we need to sort this out.
Yeah.
And then the dad kind of comes along afterwards and goes, and I've quite often worked with couples, and the dad's there in the background going, well, I'm not sure about this. Um, but it's that kind of realizing what, like, getting them to think about what they're bringing to the table. If they want their
Hmm.
children to respect them, because that's quite often one with dads, is I want them to show me respect. It's like, okay, so how are you modeling respect? Is If you're shouting at them and telling them to just do as they're told, what are you teaching them? You're teaching them that shouting works, and telling people to do what that you want, that's how you get what you want. Is that what you want your child to do? If it's if
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
not, then how can I teach them to speak to me with respect? Is by speaking to them, and it comes back to that modeling, speaking to them with respect. So it's yeah, and it's having those, and like just sitting down together and having those conversations around that kind of stuff. I mean, I do a whole session with couples on family values and building boundaries around family values, where it's like, right, okay, what are our actual values? And we come together. And if your kids are older, you can bring the kids into that as well. And you can be like,
Hmm.
right, what are your values? What's important to you? And then having a set of values, a set of family values that everybody knows. I've got mine up on my wall in my kitchen.
Yeah.
Um, and then every time I set a boundary, I go, the reason I'm putting that boundary in place is because this is our value, and we have discussed this, and we have come to this decision together around what our values are and what we think is important for us as a family. And that the thing that you're doing is not respecting that, or is not sitting within that set of values. And so
Hmm.
therefore I'm putting this boundary in place, rather
Yeah.
than putting boundaries in place around things that are kind of just, I'm telling you not to do that because my mum didn't let me do that, or I'm telling you
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do that because my dad didn't let me do
Hmm.
that. And it's like, right, okay,
Absolutely.
is that actually really important to me, or is it just the generational
Hmm.
pattern coming through?
Yeah. Wow.
Does that make sense?
Thank you, Tracy. Yes, it does. It absolutely does. I just have one quick question, okay? So, what do you do as the more empathetic partner, more understanding partner? What do you do in the heat of the moment? When everything's fine and the other partner came in with an anger or with an, what is it called? With, I don't know, with the opposite of what you're trying to do. How do you step in? Because you might feel like you might want to shout back at him to say, oh, stop this, right? Stop this because we were okay, or stop this because this is not how we treat our kids, or whatever. So,
So
how do you control that moment? What do you say to that partner
it's
in the
having
heat
that
of the
conversation.
moment?
So having had the conversation first,
Hmm.
those conversations about values, about what it is,
Yeah.
when they come in that moment and they're like, or whatever, being you then, right, okay, I'm breathing. I'm not going to allow this to come out through me. And very calmly saying, can you go and just look after your nervous system for a moment? Can you
Hmm.
go and calm yourself down? And then we need to have we've talked about
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
I need you to take some space in this moment and just, and that it takes work. It takes work as a couple to have had the calm conversation, and hopefully that person, that little snap of, actually, I can see you are getting becoming dysregulated. I can see you are getting upset. I'd like you to go and use your tools to go and look after yourself in this moment so that you can come back to this from a place of
Yeah.
calm.
Yeah.
Um, but
Well,
in the moment, if you haven't had those conversations, that can feel quite triggering.
of
So
course, yeah.
it's knowing that you need to have had the calm conversation
Mm-hmm.
first before you try and support them, because it because if you haven't had the calm conversation, then the other person can feel quite um upset
Lost in
by,
the moment.
yeah, and
Yeah.
also upset by your kind of dismissal of them, or
Yeah.
their, no, I'm parenting this child, you need to, and it's that setting the groundwork. So
Mm-hmm.
doing the groundwork, doing the groundwork. Right, okay. Talking to them about what they need to regulate themselves, and just in that moment saying, "Oh, do you need to go and take a breath of fresh air outside, or do you need to go and or perhaps you'd like to go and run your hands under the tap, or whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
that they need. Perhaps you need to do 10 jumping jacks, but if
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
I understand it. I
yeah,
get that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you've decided together that that's the way you're going to work,
Mm-hmm.
then you can do it. But it's having
Yeah.
those
But
conversations
you
first.
basically need to be an anchor to the whole ship, right? In the storm. And you have to hold everything together. You have to hold yourself first, because your husband, or if you're the dad, your wife will mirror you, and then your kid, the elder kid, will
And
mirror him, and
everybody,
then yeah, it's like a
I always
chain,
say that
right?
we are the lighthouse. So you're the lighthouse in your household, and you are shining your light. And if your light is angry, then everyone else's refraction of that is angry back at you. And if
Yeah.
you can work on yourself, and you can do the work on your and understanding your body and understanding yourself, and being able to understand your own triggers and what you need, then you shine this calming light
Yeah.
into the
Well,
household, rather than flashing the angry light at everybody. And we all get angry, and there's no shame in
of
that.
course, we're
And,
all human.
we're all human. And I always say the love is created in the repair. So
Hmm.
the rupture and repair, like so much of parenting is done in the repair. So when you have lost it, which happens to everybody, and there is no perfect, like, nobody wants a perfect parent. Nobody wants a parent who's calm all the time, because then they're not learning either. Because if you're the
Hmm.
person who's just, yeah, I'm perfectly calm all the time, then your child feels like they're wrong when they're feeling upset. So you need to show
Yeah.
them, absolutely, yeah, I get angry
The
too,
balance.
a
Yeah.
balance. But then after you have lost it because it was just one time too many or whatever, going back and saying, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have yelled at you in that moment. I see that you were upset. I was upset too. You know, let's try together to be better next time. you know, and allowing them to see that you were a human as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy, for showing us that calm doesn't mean perfect, and healing your home, doesn't start with your kids, but it starts with you. And well, let's call it a wrap for this week's 30 minutes of pink. It's almost like 40 minutes of pink, but still. And if something in today's episode hit home, go visit the Pink Sphere and follow the podcast if you haven't already. And send this to the mom in your life who needs to hear it. And come back next week for another voice, another story, and another reminder that you're not failing, you're just overwhelmed, and you don't have to do this alone anymore. Okay? Have a lovely day. Thank you, Tracy, again. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.